How football practice goes wrong in Him, the director, Justin Tipping, narrates a sequence from his film. In Anatomy of a Scene, we ask directors to reveal the secrets that go into making key scenes in their movies. See new episodes in the series on Fridays. You can also watch our collection of more than 150 videos on YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. How do you become a great quarterback? The horror movie, Him, has a few sinister lessons to teach on that front. Directed by Justin Tipping, the film focuses on Cameron Cade, Tyreek Withers, a football player newly signed to the pros who was put through training by a veteran, Isaiah White, Marlon Wayans. This scene involves a drill designed to teach a quarterback how to make quick decisions and accurate throws. But in it, any mistakes result in brutal consequences. Discussing the scene in an interview, Tipping said that he wanted to communicate that there's gonna be a big tonal shift from something's off to something's very wrong. And it's the first time we're going to introduce violence. Tipping said that the scene also presents a dynamic between the two characters that becomes much more like a narcissistic, abusive relationship than a mentor-mentee, but seeded and buried that under the guise of hazing. The tension builds to a fever pitch in the pacing of the sequence. Tipping said that he tried to get a rhythm going in the edit that's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, snap, turn, throw, and even the sound design is rhythmic. Tipping said that he used that rhythm to be able to subvert it when Cameron messes up, leading to a punishing fate for a teammate. Tipping said that this is a pivotal scene that involves seeding psychological horror and body horror at the same time. Tyreek Withers is Him, how the ex-FSU wideout transformed into Cameron Cade. OBJ, I'm Him. Odell Beckham Jr. was among the earliest prominent athletes to declare the words in his September 2019 Sunday Night Football introduction, and since then, the phrase has become one of the most recognizable in sports. Now the saying has leapt from daily sports discourse to the big screen. Him, a sports horror thriller directed by Justin Tipping and produced by Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw Productions, uses football as a vehicle to explore themes of power, obsession, and mentorship gone wrong. Marlon Wayans stars as the fictional legendary quarterback, Isaiah White, and former Florida State Seminole walk-on wideout, Tyreek Withers, brings authentic football experience to the role of his protege, Cameron Cade. The movie pushes beyond jump scares to ask a deeper question. What happens when the pursuit of greatness turns terrifying? That correlation between greatness and sacrifice drew Tipping to the story. As an athlete turned filmmaker, he saw a chance to merge two worlds that rarely intersect on screen, but always overlap in real life. The result is a genre-blending film that's as psychological as it is physical. My first word was ball. I was an athlete my entire life, but I also studied film theory. So when this idea came about, it was terrifying and exciting. Pulling from the language of sports movies and the language of horror felt like a chance to let them have a conversation and create a new language. Tipping made his directorial debut with the 2016 feature Kicks. Like Him, the film weaves music and occasionally humor into its storytelling as its 15-year-old protagonist embarks on a quest to retrieve a pair of stolen sneakers. The journey ultimately raises a similar question to the one that echoed in Cade's story. At what cost is the end worth the means? Before launching his career, Tipping studied film and media studies at UC Santa Barbara and briefly suited up for the men's soccer team. Balancing the roles of film student and collegiate athlete shaped his perspective on performance and realism. For Tipping, casting a quarterback wasn't just about appearance, though Withers' 6'5" stature certainly didn't hurt. It meant finding someone who could move, think, and react like a true athlete. Someone who could carry the physicality of the role without it looking staged. You can't fake athletic authenticity. Even the mannerisms. how you swig from a water bottle. Those things you only get if you're of the world. Withers was bringing it every day, Tipping said. That authenticity, he says, was non-negotiable. Tipping recalls the long hours on set, the repeated takes, and the demand for precision in every sequence. He wanted every football scene to feel grounded in reality, so that even the smallest details would ring true for fans who know the game. I didn't want to make that one sports movie where everyone says, oh, they just cut around it. Tyreek had to be there first, leave last, and every day was physically demanding. I don't think this performance is pulled off unless it's someone who was a serious athlete.
Like Tipping, Withers has roots in soccer, playing competitively from the age of 4 until he was 18. But the demands of playing at a high level began to wear on him. As I got into my junior year of high school, the burnout began, and I ended up getting cut from the soccer team, Withers told ESPN. Out of spite from my coach, I decided to play high school football. Listed at 6'4" and 185 pounds at the time, Withers joined the Paxton School for Advanced Studies Golden Eagles FL football team as a wide receiver during his senior year. That lone season was enough to earn him an offer from Davidson College in North Carolina. But after attending the Wildcats summer football camp, Withers realized the 8.5-hour drive from his hometown of Jacksonville felt too far from home. Withers credits the then president of Florida State's Black Student Union for inviting him to their summer week program before the 2016 fall semester. He made the decision that week to transfer to Florida State. Before Withers could notify the coaches at Davidson and make the move official, he faced one last hurdle, the cost of admission. Fortunately, during summer week, Withers was introduced to just the man to help him navigate the financial and logistical steps to get there, Tyriq Starkey, then director and department chair of FSU's Center for Academic Retention and Enhancement Care. Starkey, who is now UConn's vice provost for undergraduate student success, vividly remembers his early interactions with Withers. There was a quietness and a humbleness to him, no attitude, just honorable, mannerful. He wanted to be at Florida State. So my question was, if that's truly what you want, how can we help you get here? CARE's mission is to encourage enrollment and persistence in higher education for first-generation, low-income, minority, and other students traditionally underrepresented on college campuses. As part of that mission, the program provides scholarships for first-generation African-American students, support that directly applied to Withers' situation. With Dr. Starkey's guidance, Withers secured a full undergraduate scholarship. That crucial step allowed him to work toward his next goal, walking on to the Seminoles football team. The walk-on experience is a humbling one, Withers recalled. I went from being on one of the worst high school teams in the state to playing with NFL-caliber players. It was a crash course in discipline and the ultimate test of resolve as he worked to close the gap between himself and his teammates. I was the weakest on the team in terms of bench press, but seeing a goal and wanting to accomplish that goal and putting in the work to get to the end and make the team was like the first challenge. And then getting in with the team was the next challenge. That relationship that I built with myself in that process translates to everything in life, you know? It gave me the confidence and determination to get things done. Withers spent the 2016 and 2017 seasons with the Noles. The former even came with a reward few players ever receive. I'm super proud of the orange ring, Withers said. With his pride over that moment still clear in his voice, he also credited then head coach Jimbo Fisher for setting a high standard. Fisher was really welcoming to the walk-on team, but he really had a passion for making the walk-ons earn their starting spot. So I think that's partly why I decided to walk away from the team. Rather than criticism, Withers framed it as a moment of self-awareness to recognize the commitment it would take to compete for playing time and chose a different path forward. That decision opened the door for him to focus more on school and eventually acting. He graduated from Florida State in 2022, the same year he landed his first major appearance in the TV series Atlanta after making his on-screen debut the year before. Even after stepping away from football, the lessons Withers learned and the relationships he built stayed with him. His time at Florida State put him in the locker room with several future NFL draftees like Derwin James Jr., Brian Burns, Auden Tate, and Cam Akers. But it was the team captain who made the biggest impression, one that later shaped his approach to playing the lead character in Him. The person who inspired Cameron Cade the most was actually not a quarterback, but running back Dalvin Cook. His quiet boldness, somebody so talented yet so humble, walking with a certain level of integrity, that's what I wanted to steal from my character. Cook, who finished his collegiate career as the Seminoles' all-time leading rusher, declared for the 2017 NFL Draft just hours after their Orange Bowl win. Drafted 41st overall by the Minnesota Vikings, Cook became one of the NFL's most consistent playmakers, finishing top 10 in rushing yards for 4 straight seasons, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023, and landing on the player-voted top 100 players list each time. When told that Withers had named him as an inspiration for the role, Cook was quick to return the compliment.
It means a lot. Any honors or anybody talk highly of me like that, it's always an honor, Cook told ESPN. I just wanted to connect and build a brotherhood. That's probably why me and Reek got so tight. Cook said Withers' walk-on status helped form their bond, recalling how naturally he fit into the locker room culture despite taking a different route than scholarship players. When you're not on scholarship and you walk on, you kind of have a different path, so I just tried to connect. It was fun. For Cook, watching Withers thrive off the field feels like a natural extension of the character he displayed at Florida State. He said the same traits that made him a respected teammate continue to push Withers forward today. For him to still have those morals and values we tried to create as a culture in that locker room, that just tells you the person he is. I just want him to keep going. The sky's the limit. Despite all of Withers' athletic background and experience, one challenge still loomed large ahead of filming. He was not an actual quarterback. When I first booked this role, I thought the football aspect of the film would be a lot easier than being on a collegiate football team. But I came to find out real early that it was just as difficult. Playing a quarterback, especially one projected to go first overall, meant more than looking the part. It required convincing footwork, timing, and throwing mechanics that could withstand the gaze of a camera's close-up. There was a whole different transition, learning how to throw a football at a level that you can believe he's going first in the NFL draft. That's where Jordan Palmer came in. A 7-year NFL veteran turned quarterback consultant, Palmer built his post-NFL reputation by training some of the league's top passers through his QB Summit program. Palmer has trained the likes of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow, and many more. He also happens to be the younger brother of 2002 Heisman Trophy winner and 2003 NFL Draft #1 pick Carson Palmer, giving him a front-row seat to the demands of the position since childhood. Going from wide receiver to quarterback is like saying, "You're great at basketball. You should try golf." Throwing is different, Palmer told ESPN. He took Withers on as a client while he was preparing prospects for the 2024 NFL Draft, including current Dallas Cowboys backup Joe Melton III. The studio contacted me, and instead of me going to them, I had Tyreek move down to Orange County and in bed with my draft guys. He went to dinner with them, sat in meetings, listened to the questions, fully immersed. For 2.5 months, Withers trained with Palmer 3 days a week, transforming from an actor and former wide receiver into a convincing camera-ready signal caller. He told me on day 1, I don't want a stunt double. He wanted to rip it for real. Tyreek's clear commitment, curiosity, and work ethic from the start gave Palmer confidence that the process would pay off. He approached it like a good quarterback, always asking why. That tells me buy-in and confidence. Palmer set 3 clear benchmarks for Tyreek and treated him the same way he would an NFL hopeful. With Tyreek, I had 3 goals: throw like a quarterback, move like a quarterback, and act like a quarterback. Ironically, throwing was the last goal they addressed. It starts with the ground and how you use the ground to create rotation throughout your body. And so I would say the first week or two, we didn't touch a football. Next up was acting like a quarterback, which included going through the script to make the language more realistic. It also entailed challenging Tyreek to develop the intangible qualities quarterbacks possess. Every day I challenged him. When you step on the field, nobody can mess with you. It's not cockiness. It's an aura great quarterbacks carry. You can build confidence. You can manufacture it. It's not hereditary. It's not God-given. Those challenges paid off. Each day, Withers absorbed the work in training alongside Palmer, and NFL quarterbacks brought back memories of Florida State, as if the two-a-day workouts in Tallahassee were still echoing through every rep. He showed up not a thrower, and he left a thrower. That was his buy-in. While Withers drew inspiration from his former Florida State teammate to shape Cade's quiet confidence, Palmer used a different player to build the character's on-field presence. Chicago Bears quarterback Caleb Williams was actually the muse I used for Tyreek. He was the #1 pick that year. Palmer explained that Williams' blend of athleticism, poise, and natural charisma made him the perfect model for what Cade needed to look like on screen. That choice aligned closely with Tipping's creative vision for the character. For Cameron's character, I looked at Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams, how the media framed them. Tipping underscored Mahomes and Williams have faced added scrutiny with the expectation that often comes with being a black quarterback in today's NFL. That dynamic became a central theme of Cade's character arc. As a black quarterback, I had to be great in order to be good. Wayans' character, Isaiah White, says to Cade in the film. That line gives voice to what many black quarterbacks have said publicly, that the margin for error is smaller, the pressure is heavier, and the perception is fragile. By grounding Cade's story in that reality, the film aimed to make him feel like more than just a sports movie archetype. The inspiration for White wasn't limited to the quarterback position or even football. Tipping said he also looked to some of the biggest names in sports whose relentless pursuit of greatness shaped how he wanted White to think and carry himself. For Marlon's character, it was Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, even Tiger Woods. Athletes whose psychology and drive to be the greatest transcended the game. The result is a character whose hunger to be the best sometimes blurs the line between mentorship and manipulation. Brady's obsessive preparation, Kobe's Mamba mentality, and Tiger's uncompromising focus helped shape White into a character whose advice hits hard but isn't always clean or comfortable. It gives Cade a mentor who challenges him to rise higher, but at the risk of crossing lines and losing pieces of himself along the way. For Tipping, Him was never just a sports movie. It was a way to ask bigger and sometimes messier questions about ambition. It was very difficult to calibrate something that serviced both horror fans and sports fans. But the unifying factor was the universal feeling of striving for greatness. What sacrifices do you make? What do you miss? And is it all worth it? That's why Cade's arc isn't simply about being the draft's top quarterback or following in his idol's footsteps. It's about Cade wrestling with who he wants to be after the final whistle blows and the cheering stops. A man defined by wins or by the choices he made to get there. I hope the film starts conversations about how we want to define greatness, how we want to define success, and how we want to spend our time. Dr. Stark often uses Withers' story as an example for students, telling them that the path to success doesn't have to be straight, and passion and perseverance can lead to unexpected places. Withers, too, sees the parallels between Cade's story and his own. The discipline, grit, and work ethic he developed as a walk-on carried directly into his acting career. But he says acting has given him a way to go even deeper. It's given him a way to explore humanity, to tap into the emotions that make stories like Cade's resonate. There's one takeaway from the movie that Withers hopes athletes hear loudest. Never sacrifice your own moral values to reach that next level.
The devil's in the details of the football horror Him, but it punts on plot. Is football a game or a religion? The sports broadcaster Howard Cosell once asked with exasperation. The horror film Him, a striking but vacuous gridiron grand guignol by Justin Tipping, kicks, takes it as faith that the answer is both. Any fan with a sacred good luck ritual and any player who's thanked the man upstairs for a touchdown knows the two overlap as tightly as a freshly laced pigskin. In the home of young elementary schooler Cameron Cade, the fictional San Antonio Saviors quarterback Isaiah White, Marlon Wayans, is the Messiah. Next to the TV, there's even a shrine with devotional portraits of their icon. When White wins a game while suffering a nasty injury, Cameron's father seizes the moment to deliver a sermon. That's what real men do, he insists. They make sacrifices. The candles on the altar flicker ominously. Tipping, working from a Blacklist script by Skip Bronke and Zach Akers, with Jordan Peele as his producer, considers the sports as religion idea so obvious that the film doesn't bother analyzing why it exists. Instead, Him wonders what kind of spiritual practice it is, hero worship or a sinister cult. 14 years later, Cameron, now played by Tyreek Withers, has grown up to become a star college quarterback in line to be the NFL's top draft pick and take over Isaiah's position on the Saviors. A violent concussion knocks him off course, but Isaiah, a living legend still leading the team, offers to vouch for the kid if he passes a private training camp at his intimidating desert estate. It couldn't be more obvious that Isaiah doesn't have Cameron's best interests at heart if he blared a warning on the Jumbotron. The film's title comes from a bit of braggadocio, like I'm him, that started sprouting up in sports leagues during the last 5 years. It's why you'll sometimes see Lakers shooting guard Austin Reeves called Austim Reeves. Anointing someone the GOAT, as in greatest of all time, has been around longer. But the silly thing about both compliments is they're getting handed out like Halloween candy. Whether Cameron can become the next GOAT is the movie's main obsession. Yet it resonates, albeit vague and unexplored, with biblical references to goat offerings and images of Jesus as a sacrificial lamb, and the movie's visual allusions to the goat-headed occult idol Baphomet. Plus, it offers us in the audience the thrill of wondering if someone will get spit-roasted. Cameron enters Isaiah's home to discover his host surrounded by what looks like taxidermy sheepskins. Nearly all of the film takes place in his compound, a circular warren that looks like a combination of an ancient temple and the Superdome. We're continually happy to discover all the menacing delights that production designer Jordan Ferrer has concocted. Inside, there's unnerving minimalist furniture, dramatic saunas and ice baths, and an indoor football field with a throwing machine powerful enough to knock out a tooth. Even more terrifying, there's Isaiah's lifestyle influencer wife, Elsie, who stomps around with a pointy shard of jade that Cameron is supposed to stick up his rear, for peak performance. Meanwhile, outside the gates, Isaiah's cult followers, like visibly brain-fried Marjorie, are furious that their champion may retire. Like Kicks, Tipping's excellent 2016 feature debut about a kid who risks his neck for a pair of Nikes, Him is about the bloody quest for respect. It wants to be the substance with jockstraps, a satanic-tinged steroidal Rosemary's Baby. The film is so stylishly done that I could accept it on those plain terms. Every shot is a stunner, from stark images of eerily spinning footballs to goalposts that loom like devil's horns. Editor Taylor Joy Mason and Kira Kelly have put together queasy, brilliant montages with some kind of an eye-popping camera technique, a mix of thermal imaging, X-ray footage, and visual effects that seems to see right inside the actors' bodies to their gristle and goo. Bobby Kurlick, a.k.a. the Haxan Cloak, wows us with a tragic, thundering score. But the movie's thoughts about pain and devotion and locker room manipulation are still gestating. After I made it to the end of the story and ran it back, little of the plot hung together. I couldn't with any conviction answer rudimentary questions such as how much does Cameron even want to play football, or what in Hades will happen to the surviving characters. Part of the issue is that Tipping and Withers have created a rising football player who might be too authentic.
Withers moves with physical confidence and perfect posture and drilled obedience. Participating in a mock media training day, you buy that he was born to sell sneakers. He speaks with an athlete's guardedness, too. That post-game interview cadence where each wooden sentence tries to bore the camera into leaving them alone. Cameron describes his football career clinically and neutrally, like he's a product. He refers to himself performing, not playing, as the latter would imply he's on the field to have fun. Surrounded by trainers and doctors and his childhood hero, he acquiesces to pretty much everything, from receiving random injections to a brutal bludgeoning. At least he doesn't do you-know-what with that jade crystal. I'm willing to blame some of that passivity on his head injury, but it's hard to care about a character who only has a personality for 3 minutes. At least Wayans gets to cut loose. His bullying Isaiah sprints from pep talks to threats in the same breath, and runs around in nifty outfits covered in weighted beads. He's in such peak physical condition that you believe Isaiah's conviction that it's possible to outrace Father Time. Realizing afterwards that Wayans is 53, almost a decade older than Tom Brady, when he retired after announcers even more bold than Cosell treated him like Methuselah, you might just be tempted to bow down to Baphomet yourself.